Hello there, I'm the Amateur Enthusiast and welcome to my channel. So anyone that saw my introduction video will know that I've mentioned that I wanted to do my own personal PC build. Originally I decided to go with a bit of a budget build. I didn't want to get something that was overkill. Again, coming from a console kind of background, I've always kind of turned my nose up at the prices people pay for PC components. And I went ahead and spec myself up what I thought was a reasonably priced machine. I've since changed my mind on that, largely because I've gotten more and more into the tech just from, again, watching YouTube videos and learning more about them. But also I've come to learn that spending less now can end up costing me more sooner. So what I'm going to do is actually go ahead and show the build I was planning to do, and then you'll see how that compares to the build I actually do. So as parts arrive, some of them are here already, I will do individual videos for a couple of components at a time to go through why I chose the new parts over the old ones, and what I like about them, and how they actually function. For anyone that's actually built a PC or knows how they work, this might seem unnecessary. Well, it will be unnecessary. But for anyone who's new to this, they might be curious to see how the parts work and why people pay so much for the better stuff and what the difference might actually be. And I'm also, as I mentioned, going to be building a system for my brother, which will be not quite as good as the one that I'll be building for myself, but what I'll be hoping to do is a little bit of a benchmark between his build and mine to show the performance differences, even though they're going to have similar, the components will be from similar manufacturers. So anyway, I'm going to switch screens now to PC Part Picker and go through my original choices and why I chose them. Please bear with the OBS appearing in the bottom corner for a second. Let's hide this. There we go. Okay, so I'm on PC Part Picker. Again, anyone that's built a PC is probably very familiar with this site. It's very useful for picking out parts, checking compatibility and prices. Now, the prices aren't always 100% up to date, so if once you've put the build together and found the parts you like, I'd recommend shopping around manually to see what the parts actually look like at different retailers. Also, the information you get from here is somewhat limited beyond compatibility and a rough idea of price. So again, I'd recommend going to other retailers and looking at more detailed information about each of the parts. So first we're going to go with CPU, and I'm actually going to go with the first recommended processor there, the Ryzen 5 2600. AMD is definitely a better price to performance brand. Intel's always kind of been the king with CPUs, and for that a lot of people kind of overlook AMD, but from what I've learned, with the Ryzen CPUs coming into effect, they've got a lot of the market share back, and they're much higher thought of. And the performance of these processors is fantastic, especially for what you pay for them. Now, they still can't compete with Intel on the high end, but if you're going to be buying that kind of stuff, then you don't even have to consider alternatives, because you're going to have the money to buy the best, and you aren't going to worry about looking at price to performance. Okay, I mean, with that kind of money you might even be going to things like Threadripper or the Xeon chips. Anyway, so AMD Ryzen 5 2600, and comes with stock CPU cooler, which I'm led to believe is reasonable. So we can skip the CPU cooler, and then we're going to go for a motherboard. Again, for those who don't know, there's when it comes to CPUs and motherboards, the main compatibility thing is the socket type. For the current day AMD boards, the socket type's AM4, which you can see down here. For Intel, I believe it's LM something. I can't remember off the top of my head because, to be honest, I've not been looking at Intel processors. When I do a future build, maybe that's something that I'll look into more, but I'll be honest, I'm not too brushed up on Intel CPUs and boards because I just couldn't justify the price of the Intel CPUs versus AMD's. So yeah, we've got AM4. Now, when it comes to form factor, again, I prefer ATX. There's nothing wrong with micro or mini ATX, but I just prefer full-size builds. So we're going to go with that. The next thing is chipset. Now, again, people that are tech savvy are going to know this already, but the chipset is basically one of the main components of the board. You have, with AMD at least, you have a basic chipset, which is the B350 and the B450 respectively. Now, from again what I've seen and researched, just because it's the, shall we say, budget version of boards, they still perform very well, and they're a very good choice if you're not doing any kind of overclocking or you don't mind grading the board a little bit sooner. So I still think you get yourself a B350 or a 450, it will do you 3 or 4 years quite happily. So yeah, so the 350 and the 450, that's the lower end boards. Then you've got the X370 and the X470, which are more overclocker focused or more enthusiast focused. So obviously, when I came in to look at my build originally, the 450 board seems like an ideal one for me because it was this generation of boards still, but it was still the cheaper version and the features were enough for me at the time. So I went for 450, and then I basically went for a relatively cheap but well reviewed board. And again, the top of that is the MSI B450 Tomahawk, which isn't a bad looking board. You know, it's got a very nice neutral colour scheme. From the looks of it, it's got backlit LEDs, RGB maybe, but you know, if not, it's still nice. Red and black's not bad, especially for an AMD build. You know, nice heat sinks with, you know, little plating. Nice solid heatsink over the top of the chipset, and you do get M.2 support there. I think that's the only M.2 on there. Now again, I'm not a super expert with motherboards, and I'll be a lot happier going over how the board looks and the features on it when I've actually got one in my hands rather than doing it off a screen. But you know, if you know anything about motherboards, I don't need to tell you about it. And if you don't know a lot, again, when I get one in my hands, then I'll go through it more. But yeah, the Tomahawk's got a lot of good reviews. Again, I've heard a lot of good things about it. It's current gen, at the time of this recording, current gen chipset. Although, again, at the time of the recording, Computex is in a week, and there's already X570 boards being leaked. But I'll talk about that another time. So yeah, MSI max RAM 64 gigs, wouldn't be reaching that. Backsilver crossfire capable, wouldn't bother with that either. One M.2 slot, yeah, that was right. DDR4 up to speeds of 3466 now. This is another thing I'm told, that AMD Ryzen likes faster RAM, so ideally you'd want around about the 3000 or more clock speed, but again, it depends on your budget and what's available, etc. But 3 PCIe times 1, 2 PCIe times 16, yeah, it's good. Onboard USB 3, cool. No wireless, never mind. And yeah, looks pretty good. So there's the MSI B450. For memory, again, when it's a choice between one 8 gig stick and 2 4 gig sticks, I thought the 2 times 4 would be better originally because it's cheaper and you're still getting dual channel. But when you come to upgrades, that then means you're going to have to get 2 fresh 8 gig sticks, or another 2 4 to then have quad channel if your board supports it. But again, you end up overspending really easily that way. So what I would have done is probably gone for a single stick of 8 gig RAM, and then bought a second stick in the future. So I'm going to go for one 8 gig stick, and we're going to look for 3 to 3200 speed, and then we're going to go by price. And we've got the G-Skill I mean, there's also the Corsair engines, but again, G-Skill, from what I'm told, tend to behave better with Ryzen. They tend to get on quite well together. So we're going to go with the G-Skill Igus. There we go. Okay, so CPU, motherboard, memory. Storage. Again, since we've got M.2 compatibility, and I wanted this to be relatively decent, and the machine I've got at work also has an M.2 boot drive, I can't not have one now, I'm afraid. So a little bit more expensive, but prices are getting reasonable compared to what they were a few years ago. So we are going to go with SSD M.2 2280, and I already know which stick of memory I want, so I know it's Western Digital. It's Western Digital Blue, and it's the 500 gig version, which is right there, which is at £56.79, which is a pretty good price. I'll get to dollars later because I know that a lot of people that view this kind of stuff from America, and America is also kind of where the base price comes from. So there's the storage. Video card. Now, I didn't know a lot about video cards a few months back, and the first component I bought was Sapphire RX 570 4GB Nitro Plus, which I got a pretty decent price back then. I got it for just under £100 second hand. Now, again, for my build, this has changed again. This graphics card I've now donated to my brother. So I was actually originally going to go for a Zotac 1050 discrete GPU, just because it was quite cheap and because I didn't know how the AMD graphics card scaled, but I understood the NVIDIA system. I was kind of leaning more towards them, but again, since I've looked up benchmarks between the various RX 500 cards versus a 1050, the 1050 doesn't really cut it in comparison, and they're very similarly priced. You could always go for a more modern card if you wanted to spend a little bit extra, but again, at the time this was trying to be a relatively budget build, so yeah, went with the Sapphire card. So Sapphire, and it was 570, so we'll just come up here and put in 570. Sparkle, wrong company. Sapphire is what I want. What is Sparkle? I've never heard of Sparkle. Right, so Sapphire Nitro RX 578, 4 gigs, that's what we want. 180. Ooh. Okay, I saved about £80 by going second hand there. Oh, that price has gone up. that was about 150 last time I looked. Okay, and then case. I actually saw this case from one of Bitwit's little commercial ad things he does at the start. I actually did quite enjoy the skit that he did. And it was a Focus G. Now, again, at the time of me designing this, I was going for something that was fairly budget, which this is quite a cheap case, but it's still got that kind of mesh front, which gives you a little bit of airflow. You've still got your glass panel on the side. I was kind of hoping for an optical drive option, so it's got that there. Internally, it's fairly clean. There's nothing special going on there. Looks like maybe there's some perforation at the bottom, so maybe options for having fans and radiators on the bottom. Like, you know, after the power supply is installed, you remove the hard drive trays, assuming that's an option. Can't tell if there's any kind of, yeah, so you've got a little bit of, there's a dust filter there, so you should be able to put brads in the top, and then yeah, exhaust on the back. So all in all, pretty decent case. I thought not a lot of built-in cable ties or Velcro ties to help with cable management, but again, this is a fairly budget case, but it looks pretty good, and I was quite happy with this one. So that's the Focus G in white. And then for power supply, basically I wanted anything that was at least 80 plus, but I put in bronze and gold just in case there was a deal on at the time. I wanted at least semi-modular, especially with the Focus G not having a lot of options for cable management. I didn't want spaghetti cables everywhere. And then again, I organised it by price. And then you got some pretty nice 450 and 550. So Corsair, Be Quiet, Cooler Master, Be Quiet. They're all pretty good brands. You even got an 80 plus gold. That wasn't there before. That's a new addition. But what I did like and go for is we got the Cooler Master Master Watt, 80 plus bronze, and it's 750 watt. Now that's a bit overkill for the build that I was doing, but again, I wanted a little bit of future proofing, and 750 watts, it seems like a good deal. Again, for only 6450, yeah, I couldn't say no to that. So, yeah, that pretty much finished my build. Again, the optical drive was something I may have added in the future. So that totaled up to £609.68, which isn't a terrible price for a PC, one that would compete with consoles at least when it comes to the gaming aspect, and definitely a lot better than the laptop that I'm currently using. This is a HP Pavilion Gaming, and I did fall for that little marketing scheme when I bought this. I bought it 3-4 years ago now. I mean, it does have an Intel i7, which is quite a nice CPU, but it's got no dedicated graphics. It's just the built-in graphics processor of the actual CPU. So really can't handle anything game-wise or anything graphically intense. And it really struggles when I use Fusion 360 on here. I tend to try and do all my modelling at work when I can, but there are times that I can't get away from it, and I do have to use this, and it kills me. It stutters and it crashes at times. It's just a bad time. This is why I'm really looking forward to actually finishing my build. As a comparison, just to go for the US prices, switch to US, and again the processor is almost the equivalent in dollars, so technically cheaper in America. The Tomahawk, $109 to I think about 89 English pounds, probably about the same. RAM $36, Western Digital solid state M.2 65, Fractal Design $53, and the Cooler Master $76.89 with these negatives. Don't know if that's rebates, I don't know how that system works in America, forgive me. But yeah, American price comes in at $489. So not only is it a lower number, with the exchange rate, that's ridiculously cheap. So if I put in Google and then I go with $489.05. £384 sterling. I'm paying almost double just for being in a different country. So for anyone in America that complains about hardware prices, don't. Just don't. I know there are countries that get charged more than we do in the UK, but that kind of price, I'm thinking it might even be cheaper to try and buy it through an American proxy and have it delivered overseas. I don't know how I'd do that, but wow. Next time I do a build, I might look at trying to order it through America and getting it shipped over. That's insane. Anyway, so that's pretty much what my build would have looked like if I'd stuck to it. But now my tastes have changed along with my opinion on budget-ish builds. But I just wanted to give you a quick look now at what one of my next videos is going to be about. So we've got this HP Pavilion laptop. This was the last piece of computing equipment I bought for myself. But I've actually found out my old tower. Now, I cannot remember how long I've had this for. Probably back around 2010, 2009. This fellow here is called the Compact Presario. I don't know if these guys are still even in business. It's a Windows 7 machine, and it is an Intel Pentium processor. So in a future video, I'm actually going to be tearing this open and giving it a quick rundown and seeing what's in here. I actually don't remember what's in there, so that should be quite interesting and probably very, very dusty. Because back when I bought this, I wasn't even comfortable opening up a PC case just to have a look inside and do some maintenance, let alone what I'm planning to do with my own build. So yeah, that's going to be an interesting video, at least on my part. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and let me know what you thought. Was this video worth watching? You know, what would you be interested in seeing in the future? Thanks again. Bye bye. Oh, if I can get the exit. Stop recording.